Welcome back, folks, to World of Warships Legends. I'm Soopa-Dave. Today we continue on with the Spanish cruiser line, the Dev Strike line, as I call it, because you get Dev Struck or you Dev Strike others. That being said, we're going to go ahead and talk about the commander first, uh, being that most people are going to have Nunez and they might not have gotten the calendar. Um, 2P is definitely the better option, guys. The other commander. We'll go through both really quickly, but if you want a more in-depth look at them, go to the Tier 5 video. I do a big rundown on both of them. Uh, the Nunez is not as good a commander, and that's what is going to be funny is this whole line I did with Nunez because I'm not a CC. I didn't have the other commander when doing these videos or doing these matches, and these ships were still that effective. Tier 6 is no different. So at tier, we're using Nunez with Kuzganov and Mbeli. These don't have the best range. We're using Burning Down XXL, Crisscross on second thought, reaching out XXL, and fully packed. Honestly, it's only because there isn't refill station. You should use refill station if you can. Now, if you have the other commander, 2P, which I will be switching over to because it makes these ships even much better. I can't wait to use them. We're using Mimbelli with Yamato. Why are we using Yamato as inspiration? Because the AP on this thing is great. You should lean heavily on the AP. We'll talk about that more. If you saw the Tier 5 video, or if you did, you'll understand why. If you haven't, please watch a Tier 5 video. You'll see all the dev strikes I've gotten in these ships. Even just, I got so many I quit recording the dev strikes I've had in these ships. Again, I've had more dev strikes in the Spanish cruiser line on people than every line in the game put together already, probably, besides the American battleships. They're absolutely crazy. Now, his unique base trait is Enduring Spirit. Very helpful for damage reduction. Ingenious will help you see how many people are shooting at you, plus help with your turret speed. His unique skill, Forewarned Command, you get a better reload. You're giving up detection after fighting your main gunzo, but that's okay, right? If you're detected, this is just a good perk. On second thought, to help with reload, and fixated to help with accuracy. These things are really accurate anyway, but on the last skill, I cannot stress how much honorable sacrifice is not a good option. I went really in depth with it at Tier 5, the Tier 5 video. So if you want to look at the Belarus video, please do so. Refill station is much better. All right, quick rundown. 50% reload to get one more in your ready rack is not a good thing. Okay? In fact, this is actually a terrible perk. It's one of the worst things I've ever seen in the game, and I know people will disagree. But if you have two sets of shells ready, right? When you go to shoot this thing, and you have to take a 50% fire penalty to get a third, that is half of your shells, right? If you only had two to start with, 50% is half. That's your reload. So you're literally just giving up the same reload. Like, you're not gaining anything by this perk. And you're just losing a bunch of health. Okay? And then if you do have this maxed out, right? You're essentially if it's 4% and 40, that is a penalty. You're essentially gaining a 10% reload boost over the course of the match, but you're taking a 4% hit to your health. Why would you do that when you can just get the 10% reload here, plus you get extra cruiser main battery range? It's absolutely obnoxious why anybody would take this, to me. And not only that, but it hurts your HE more because, oh yeah, you have three sets of shells you're shooting off at one time. Yeah, that's going to be, if you're using AG, which I wouldn't recommend very often, but everything's going to be in a damage con. You're sure you're going to start a couple fires, but then they're going to be damage cons for your next sets, right? And AP broadside, if you can't kill them in two, you probably weren't going to kill them with three. So again, just not a good perk. Please don't take this unless they change it. which I could see them changing it. Refill station is way better. That being said, Astros, good ship. For your modifications, we're taking Aiming Systems Mod 1. Prop and concealment is always in the last slot. Now, because of the range, you definitely want to take your targeting systems first, your hull second, and your reload third. For your loadouts, you have 3 heals. Again, we have fully packed on this. These heals aren't good enough to get fully packed. I would do refill station, guys. The three you have a couple sonars, so if you're using 2 Pete, these are all going to be 1 less because we have fully packed on Nunez. And you do get some catapult fighters. These sonars again come in handy. If you see on tier 5, you saw me spot the destroyer. You know, you do that with these. Plus, it's nice not to hit torpedoes. Survivability, 39,000 hit points. Again, pretty strong on the hit points for what it is. Main battery, again, you have 6 203s. These are really good to have. A heavy cruiser at tier 6 can be quite beneficial, right? You still get a lot of broadsides at tier 6. Only issue is now you're going up against tier 7 battleships that have much more accuracy, especially the Americans with a plotting room in that tier 7 slot. You do have to be a little bit careful. Because you can get dev struck. However, so you have a reload of 21 seconds. If you're using the other commander, this comes down to about 20 actually, plus way better turret traverse. The other commander is much better for this if you do have them, but I am showcasing the general because I feel like most people are going to have that, right? Also, I'm not a CC, and doing this video at the time of it, I did not have access to the new commander anyway. So you get 21-second reload, but then you get 2 sets of salvos. So essentially, this is like having 2 salvos, or you're getting a salvo every 13 seconds or so when it plays out. So not terrible, but not quote unquote a DPM monster. Main battery traverse 21 seconds, but again, if you're using 2 Pete with his skill set, you would be dropping this even much farther down. Just to take an example here, we'll put them on for 1 second so you can see. Reload all the way down to 20. Main battery reverse down to 20 as well from 25 seconds. So a big thing. And also you can see his shell grouping makes it even much more accurate. So when I say that other commander is much better for this ship, so you can see I am not lying, right? This makes everything better. Main guns, will go back into it. But still, grouping is accurate enough with these ships as it is. It's solid. And only the dispersion's going down only because we're increasing the range. That's really the only reason why. HE shell damage, 3100. So exactly the same as the tier 5. So not great, right? This is not amazing HE. It's not bad, but when you consider this fire chance on your second set is going to be 0, basically, because if you get fires on your first set, not going to be good. The only time I would really use HE is against destroyers and American battleships. The reason being is the damage count on American battleships is longer, so by the time you reload your double set, you could actually, in fact, get a good timing for American battleship. However, the HE is pretty underwhelming on this ship. AP, however, this is 5100. For those of you guys that don't think 5100 AP shell damage at the tier isn't pretty decent, I mean, let's take a look just at like Baltimore, right? Tier 7. Most people would say it has fantastic AP on it. Now, it does have some better benefits too with the angles and stuff. Let's take a look, right? 5300. This is very much on par without the buffs to the AP is the, Baltimore damage. So do not, I get that it reloads a little bit slower, but again, I'm just telling you, very solid AP, and you should be leaning heavy on it. Secondary is not worth going over. Torpedoes, you have a set of 4 on each side, 8 kilometers. They do come in handy. They do have a big arming distance, however, but they have great firing angles. AA defense, again, not great, but you can shoot down some planes. Maneuverability, solid. It's pretty quick. Turning circle's not great, and the rudder's not super amazing, but for heavy cruiser, it's not atrocious either. The turning circle is not good. You don't want to be making big, wide circles with this. Concealment, 10-7. Pretty bad for a tier 6 ship. Stats, guys, I'm telling you, you're not going to see anything different in this line. Just like my Italian cruisers, when you do effective damage in cruisers, and you're given an opportunity, you don't have to put up big damage numbers and you're going to win a lot. Okay? You've seen this all, and I know this is only 8 matches, but on all of these Spanish cruisers, all of them, my win rate across all of them, like 50 matches, is like 75%. I think 75 is the lowest I have on any ship, right? What was it? Belarus was... I don't even know. What was Belarus, just to make my argument? 83, the tier 7, where are you? I think I didn't even lose a match, I only did a couple, right? So, I am quite effective with these using AP. It's effective damage you're doing when you're using AP. You don't have to get 150k every time to make a difference in your matches, right? XP is a little bit down in this ship. I was a little daring in a couple matches, but I've been up against tier 7s every time, and I can assure you, you do not want to be caught by a tier 7 battleship that has much more accuracy at this range, particularly, or at this tier. Particularly American battleships will rough you up if you're not careful. All right, but again, accurate, good, staying alive most of the time. You just got to be careful. As you can see, 16 millimeter bow and stern. You do have an extended belt, which is handy, but it's not that big of an extended belt, so it's really not going to save you that much, right? So 16 millimeter bow and stern, meaning everything over a normal heavy cruiser is going to overmatch you. So if we take all this off, check out the side plating so you can see. You can angle 30, so you can angle to a battleship, but man, is that, you're asking for trouble. Why is that? That's your Citadel. Okay? Very rough Citadel to get hit in. Alright, so you want to be careful on this ship. As we start the match, it's disclaimer time. This is a beginner's video meant to help people new to the ship or new to the game. This is not meant for professional gamers that know everything there is to know about everything in the universe. There are multiple ways to play and build this ship, and I am an above average player, not the world's best. I make mistakes. You may see one in this match. You didn't come here for pronunciations. I'm as good as anybody at slaughtering beautiful languages all the time. With that out of the way, we are bottom tier at Sea of Fortune. Also, our teammates are going to be crazy a little bit here in the beginning. They're going to all switch, right? Here's some good firing angles, by the way. They all have it. But our battleships are going to leave, and then our other battleships our middle spawn and our right spawn is switching. That being said, our destroyer is going to do a very good job spotting. Our kudos to our destroyer in this match. Now, this match is going to be a little bit different. If make sure you watch a tier 5 video where we talk about Belarus and the way this line shifts. Okay? This match is going to showcase what I'm talking about with HE problems, all right? I'm going to showcase HE a little bit more in this match. It is going to be a good showing of this. Now, and also how to play the ship, because when you get bottom tier, in every match that I played in this thing, I think I was bottom tier, maybe one I didn't. There's Algeria, all right? We have AP loaded. Our back turret hits the round, and also we get, or the island, our second set goes through, and we may have dev struck that Algeria if it wasn't for that island there, right? Like clipping that back set of our turrets with the island. So obviously not ideal, but we're going to use this island cover because you see as we stop all the battleship shells that go over us here, you got to be careful. You got to be very aware. As you can see, we are chunking Algerie even though he's angled. All right. So keep that in mind. Like AP, you can see even angled, we were doing significant amounts, right? Like our first couple salvos out the gate, 30,000. In the next one here, we're going to take out Algerie here just to finish them off, right? We're going to get the first blood. We got a pretty high DPM ship off the board. And there is a lot of shells coming our way. We're going to turn in, try to miss most of them. And now you're going to see a little bit of struggles here. All right. And we're bottom tier, so we're shooting at some more armor. Now, that being said, we're going to take a shot here at Amagi. And it's not going to be a good one because he's actually turning outward. I didn't notice that at the time. And we're going to bounce all that shells off his belt. And not a good one. So I try HE for a little bit. And this is going to be a showcase of how the HE is, right? We did 30,000 damage in the first couple seconds using an AP, right? We're going to go ahead and shoot Massachusetts. And this is about as optimal as it's going to get, guys, right? Massachusetts, a lot of superstructure, long damage cooldown. And you can see here, he does, in fact, hit his damage, or his damage cooldown, right? So he's on a cooldown after hitting his repair, not his repair party, his extinguisher, right? He put out the fire. So we shoot out another set, and we're using his islands because we do not want to get spotted with all these battleships here. And that's how I would recommend playing it, being very careful at this moment, right? Like, it's not so much about getting spotted, it's about limiting who can shoot you. And right here, we're in a good position. So we do get a perma fire, but you can see all these shells we're putting in downrange. We've already put down as many shells as we did in the beginning with not a lot of results, right? And we're going to struggle. And that's going to be the thing with this. The HE, it's not awful, and I'm not saying that. But when you have the opportunity, like this ship right now, obviously, not giving us our broadside, but we should still be shooting AP, in my opinion. And you can see I'm going to struggle with this for a little bit here. We're not going to do that much to these ships. And we could have had an opportunity, I feel, if I used AP to have a much better game, right? Also, we're not really having that much luck with fire fire chance. Obviously, as you can see, we have a 17%, but we're not. This isn't a quick reloading DPM monster. That's why with the AP, I feel like it's more effective damage. This match, right? We're gonna have a similar damage shoulder. We did it at tier 5, right? But it's not as effective damage. We're trying to burn down battleships that are gonna just heal it back. We're not, at this point in the match, we're not doing a ton good, right? Now, I am not actually too scared of battleships up close in this because you have a set of torpedoes, and a lot of times up close they will overpin you if you get really close to this. And then all of a sudden your AP, when you're really close, you can Citadel battleships. So one thing I would have liked to get into a match on is one of the matches where I was able to charge a battleship and then Citadel him on the broadside at about 7 kilometers or 6. I just didn't have that ability. I felt like showcasing this HE. Like, we've been shooting now for, 5-6 minutes or whatever. And our AP was much more effective. And you're going to see, I'm going to get frustrated, and I'm just going to switch over to AP here after the Friesland, because we're just not doing nothing to them. They're like 3K salvos coming out of it. We're going to go ahead and try to help our destroyer buddy. He goes down, but he goes down to a Friesland. So there's not ripping on him. That's a solid outcome, right? He took a fair amount off the Friesland. He did what he could. We're going to go ahead and try to get our shot through. And now you can see our back set has a set ready in the ready rack. And we did actually hit the Friesland pretty good, where he has like no health left. I'm going to shoot these shells into the island here. Why would I do that? It's so I can get my ready rack and get 2 salvos ready again. And we're going to start to push up. Obviously, we're in a good position to win this match. Friesland, while he is a destroyer, when we have control of the 3 caps, it's much harder for him to win as he goes down because he doesn't have torpedoes. It's not like he can be stealthy. Also, we shoot off our back guns out around the corner. And I was trying to get up here because I've had good luck on battleships up close with this thing. And you're going to see right here, we're going to go ahead, as you see, switch to AP and get ready. Because if he was going to go broadside, we were going to wreck him, right? And he was probably just going to overpin us. Plus, we had torpedoes to use here in a second. Would have been bad for him, but not the world's greatest game, but kind of showcasing that HE struggles with this. Still top leaderboard, helped our team win, but not like we did at using AP. Anyway, you guys have a wonderful day, and I will see you folks next time.